first chapter of a book is usually the most challenging because you want to cover the background of the book and probably the first chapter or first section of the book. So it can be a challenge to do that. But if we ask the right question, we can do it all at the same time. But I need your help because I don't want to tell you all the information. I want you to try to glean it from this section. So even though the book is written as an apologetic for the line of David, it's pointing ahead to another one. It's pointing ahead to the son of David. And we're going to get to that by the end of the book when we study the genealogy at the end.
So looking forward from David to the Messiah, that both these ladies who were foreign ladies, and we don't know completely about Rahab, but she marries into an Israelite family that, and I think that was one of the jobs of the Jewish people, was to tell other peoples about their God, and that there was the one true God.
Mm-hmm.
And in these two ladies, you can see that, and then it follows into the line of Jesus.
This is why it's so applicable to us, because they're people like us. They're people just like us that have difficulties. Sometimes horrible things happen. How do we respond when we're in the midst of these kind of things?
Ruth is completely committed to God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when she swears her allegiance to Naomi, she doesn't swear it to her old gods, but to her new God. And she knows when she swears that allegiance that she's going to have the same life as Naomi of despair. There's nothing in it for her. So, in terms of how does it impact us, she's so committed to the God of Israel, she's not worried about what worldly things she'll get.
There's ambivalence in our lives. Naomi's being ambivalent here. Ruth isn't being that ambivalent.
I remember laying in the hospital, and one of the nurses asked me how I could be so cheerful every day, because I couldn't move, I couldn't really do much of anything. And I basically said to her, every morning I have a choice. I can either worry about what's going on in my body and be bitter and nasty and mean, or I can look at what God's doing through me and be joyful and happy.
Do you ever think of love as meeting the needs of people around you? That's really what love is. It's not just saying you're going to do something, it's actually meeting the needs of people around you. So Boaz is sensitive to this, and he says, stay here. You're going to be fine if you stay here. I'm going to watch out for you. I'm going to make sure you're okay. He's going above and beyond the letter of the law. Don't reproach her. Pull some bundles out and throw them. It was the woman's job to put the bundles together. They weren't allowed to take that for themselves. He's saying, just throw her bundles. Give her sheaves, whatever she wants. And don't rebuke her or try to stop her. Now, you know what risk he's taking here.
My kids were into wrestling, and I happened upon this gal who I just remember looking at her and thinking, she doesn't have time. I don't know whether it's the enemy or what, but I remember clearly she does not have time to be my friend. Well, she was a major person to help reconcile my brokenness from my past. She used the bondage breaker. I don't know if you've heard of that, but she walked through that with me to try to help me get through. And it takes time and a lot of love. So
one time I asked my wife, who's terminally ill and on hospice at home, I said, make a list of everybody, not just has done something for us, but prolonged period of time, continually over and over again ministered to us. This is about 2-3 years ago I asked her to do this. And she wrote 25 families down. And she said, oh, I think I'm just scratching the surface. But as I looked at the people on the list, almost every one of those people she was also ministering back to and encouraging them. So it perpetuates itself. So what is the significance of Ruth proposing to Boaz?
One thing is showing how much she trusts Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
Based on Naomi's recommendations, she does everything that she's told to do, just trusting that it was the right thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big element of trust there.
Yes. She replied, all that you say I will do. You kind of get this idea of Mordecai. Everything that he said to Esther, she was an obedient woman, and God uses that later, right? When her life's on the line, even though she's struggling, she eventually obeys him and saves her country by doing it. Now, according to Ruth chapter 4, who is the Redeemer? Think about this now. Will the real Redeemer please stand? Yes.
There's a different approach too. I mean, and you can use the numbers to that. 10 is the number of completion. And David is the ultimate kinsman redeemer of all of Israel.
All right.
And when they are effectively prostituted by Saul, David is the one that steps in and brings them back.
All right.
And of course, then you could say, follow that with the lineage of Jesus and points to there. So
they're all pointing forward. Now, if you were just looking at this book from a strictly Orthodox Judaism perspective, you might stop there. But we're Christians and we know everything in the Old Testament is pointing forward. There's always a look of shock upon the faces of people, but because of Christ, we can be more than what we even realized we could be. And not because of us, but because of Him. I think they got to her. As she starts coming out, you know, the matchmaker in her starts coming out. She starts saying, yeah, the Lord's got plans for you, Ruth. Everyone starts becoming selfless. That's why it's a picture of the gospel. Everybody simultaneously is being selfless. Now, if we did that in the church, could you imagine?